Three, two. Welcome, everybody. This is the DVMUG Zoom meeting for Tuesday, February 13th, 2024. And today we'll have one news item and a whole list of videos. Don't panic. Most of them are pretty short. And if we don't get to them, that's fine. We'll just put them back in the queue for future use. So here we go. Go forward, please. Yeah. There we go. Why is this? One news item. Of course, everybody probably knows this update, everything. These updates were not security updates. Did not affect older systems, only Sonoma and iOS 17. It was the problem Jan talked about last week, which was the copy and paste over the top of your stuff in mail. So that got fixed. And that's it. Jan will be happy about that. You did that. You did it?
Jan knows it.
You did it and it fixed it?
Yep.
Yay. Okay. These are our videos. Let me try to get this thing out of the way. It's blocking me. There we go. Okay, so these are our videos. Most of them, there's some short ones in here. And we don't get to the last one. That's okay too. First video from Apple. Oh, come on, go forward. There we go. This was tricky in preview to get this to play. Only less than a minute. Okay, now let's see if we can get it to play. There we go.
When you want to use your voice instead of typing, send an audio message. Here's how in iOS 17. In a messages conversation, tap the plus button. Tap audio, and your audio message will begin recording right away.
Can you pick up some eggs when you go to the store?
When you're finished recording, tap send. If you want to send another audio message, touch and hold the record audio button in the message field.
Oh, and we need coffee.
Say it with an audio message. To learn more about how to use your Apple devices, subscribe to the Apple Support YouTube channel, or click another video to keep watching.
Okay. That was short and sweet. I've never done it. Anybody else do that? I think that's a new feature, I would presume.
Yeah, I've used it by accident, but it worked fine.
Yeah, I've used it. It worked fine. It's been around for a little while.
I presume, you send it to older phones, does it still play, or do you need a newer phone to receive it?
Well, it worked on an SE second edition.
Okay. That would run
John?
Iowa. Yes.
I didn't understand how you got the app in the first place. Which app is it?
Messages.
Oh, just in messages, like when you text message?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh. Let me try it on my phone. I mean, you don't have to wait for me.
Okay. Next video is from our friend Gary. This is 10 Mac copy and paste tricks. Go, Gary.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Here are 10 copy and paste tricks for Mac users. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So you probably use copy and paste all day long. But did you know these 10 tricks? First, let's say you've got some style text in one document or maybe a completely different app. Like I'm in TextEdit here. And I copy this and then I go to another document or app and I were to paste it. Notice that not only does the text come along but all of the styling as well. Perhaps that's not what you want. If you just want to paste the text and keep the styling, then go to Edit and look for an option like Paste and Match Style. There's usually a keyboard shortcut that involves Command V. And you just use that and then you just get the plain text there using the current style that was at that point in the document. So when you take a screenshot, there are various keyboard shortcuts that you could use. If you go to System Settings and then down to Keyboard and then click on the Keyboard Shortcuts button and then look for Screenshots, notice you have two that involve the clipboard. Copy picture of screen to the clipboard and copy picture of the selected area to the clipboard. And if you use this one, Control-Shift-Command-4, then you could select an area and that goes straight to the clipboard. If you use it again and again, you always have to select the same area. But the universal keyboard shortcut, Screenshot and Recording Options, Shift-Command-5, allows you to select different options like capturing a selected window or the selected portion of the screen. And if you do, you can have it remember the last selection. The advantage using this is it brings up all of these options, but you can still copy to the clipboard. The way to do that is do whatever you're going to do normally. Like here I'm going to select an area, but instead of clicking Capture, which will then save to one of these places like the desktop, you can have it automatically save to the clipboard even if that's not the selection by just using Command-C. So that saves that area to the clipboard and I can do Command-Shift-5, move this over. Command-C saves to the clipboard again. I can do Command-Shift-5 and then say Window, and I can just hover the pointer over this window and do Command-C to copy the window. And I can do the screen, and then instead of clicking to capture the screen, I can just do Command-C to capture the screen. So for a lot of control, use Shift-Command-5 and then Command-C with whatever one of these options you want to just go straight to the clipboard. Now of course you can copy things in an image, but you can also copy text from an image in the latest versions of macOS. So here I've got an image. This is just a photo of a piece of paper, but I can easily copy the text here in the Preview app. Just select and then Command-C to copy. I can also do it in Quick Look as well and the Photos app and other places. And by the way, if you need to copy a portion of an image in Preview here, then switch to the Markup tools. Go to the Selection tools here, and now you can actually select an area of the image and copy. Also in Preview you can copy and paste portions of a PDF. So you might think of copy and paste as something you do with text or maybe an area of an image, maybe even a file in the Finder. But you can also do it with PDFs or selections in them. So here I've got a PDF file, and if I were to make a selection by clicking and dragging text, then I can copy the text. But if I were to switch to the Markup tools and then use the selected area there, I could select a portion right here and copy. That's not copying an image of this, but the actual piece of the PDF there. Now I can go to File, New from Clipboard and create a PDF of just that section that I selected before. This can really help if you just need a portion of a PDF, not the entire thing. So a QuickTime Player is mainly a player, although you can do other things like trim video in it as well. But you can also copy from a video. In this case you'd be copying the still image at the current frame. So I've paused the video here. If I do Command-C to copy, then I can go to another app like Preview and you can see New from Clipboard gives me a still image which now I can save as an image document. You can also do a few special things with copy and paste in Numbers. One is that if you select a cell that has a formula result in it, in this case it's the sum of these two, you can of course copy it. But if you paste it, it's going to contain that same formula referencing cells relative to that one. However, you can also select Copy and then go somewhere else and then choose Edit and then Paste Formula Results. This will give the cell the value of the cell that you copied, not the formula in it. A handy thing to do with this is to take a whole set of results here and then do a quick copy and then paste formula results right over it. Now these are the actual numbers here, and that's handy if say you wanted to get rid of these. The values will stay the same because they no longer rely on these cells. I'm often asked how can you get data from a table on the web into Numbers, and you can do it with copy and paste. Usually if the data is well formatted in a table like this, you can select a whole bunch of rows like this. You can do copy and then switch to Numbers and then paste, and it will paste the actual data into each cell. There may be some cleanup that you need to do afterwards, and some web pages are better formatted than others, but at least it's a starting point. Now if you create a nice looking chart of some sort in Numbers and you want to use it somewhere else, like say in a presentation, in Keynote, or a Pages document, you can select it and copy in Numbers. And then if you go to an app like Keynote, you could paste it into a slide. Keynote and Pages, by the way, will actually keep the data. You can edit chart data and then make changes to it if you want. But if an app doesn't support that kind of thing, at the very least you can paste and get a graphic representation of that table. So if you create a nice looking chart somewhere in Numbers, you don't have to leave it Numbers. You could bring it out and use it somewhere else. Freeform also gets into the act. You can do lots of different things in Freeform. There are shapes and images and notes and all sorts of things in here. But I could select everything, and if I want to share this with somebody, I don't need to worry about exporting or creating a document or anything. I could just copy it with Command C, and then I can go into something else like this mail message and do Command V to paste, and it will paste it here as an image. And of course another thing you can do with copy and paste is use it with files. So I can go into a folder here in the Finder, select something like this and copy it. And then I could go to another location in the Finder and then I can go to paste and paste the item there. If I hold the Option key down, paste changes to move. So Option Command V will actually move the item, whereas just Command V will make a copy of it in this new location. And you can do that with folders. You can do it with multiple files selected and everything. And one last tip I want to show you. When you copy something, if you ever forget what you have in the clipboard and for some reason you want to know, you can go to the Finder. This will only work in the Finder. And then you can go to Edit and Show Clipboard. And this brings up a window that shows you the contents of the clipboard. So if I go back here to Text Edit, you can see the window goes away because I'm no longer in the Finder. But I could select something else, copy, and now if I switch back to the Finder, that window is still there until I close it and you can see the new contents. It even works if you've got an image. So if I select this and copy, I could see what I've got in the clipboard here. Or if I select something like this chart here in Numbers, I can go back to Finder and in the clipboard window I could see that there as well. So there's some tips for using copy and paste on your Mac. Hope some of these were new to you and you find them useful. Thanks for watching.
Alrighty then. Comments, questions? Nothing? We'll move on then. Next one's 7 ways to break out of the Apple ecosystem from Gary.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let me show you how you can break out of the Apple ecosystem while still using your Mac, iPhone, and iPad. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So I've often heard it said that Apple's like a walled garden. As soon as you start using Apple products, you're stuck inside using all of the different Apple services. But in fact, Apple's actually really good at letting you use just about any service you want for anything. You don't have to use Apple stuff just because you use Apple's hardware. So for instance, a lot of people think that once you move to Apple products, you need to use Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, and you can no longer access Microsoft Office products like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. But that's just not true. Microsoft has always made versions of these apps for Mac. And you can actually get them right in the App Store on your Mac. You can just download all of these versions here. You'll need a subscription from Microsoft to use them though. But you actually can buy that not just as a subscription, but you could also buy a standalone version of the Office products as well if you really want that. Although for personal use, a subscription is probably the way to go because you can use those App Store versions of the apps and it ends up being cheaper if you're assuming that there are major updates to the software every 2 years or so. But that's not the only set of Office applications you can use. There are many more, some available in the App Store and others available from the web. For instance, LibreOffice is a very popular cross-platform Office suite that you can use, and it can even open and save out Microsoft formatted documents. In addition, a lot of people skip having apps for this at all and use Google Docs, the website that Google provides for free that you can use as a word processor, spreadsheets, forms, all sorts of different things. I know using Google Docs is very popular, especially for students. Now I'm a huge fan of the Photos app on the Mac, and I've done tons of tutorials on it. And I think people that don't use it today are still thinking of how Photos was maybe many years ago before it added a lot of the powerful features it has now. But if you really want to use some other ecosystem besides Apple's Photos app and iCloud Photos library, you certainly can. Matter of fact, you can get Adobe Lightroom, a popular choice, right from the App Store. And then you can get a subscription for that from Adobe. You can also use lots of different online photo storing services, like for instance Google Photos. Now as far as email is concerned, you don't have to use iCloud just because you're using an Apple product and the Apple Mail app. In fact, if you just go to Mail, Settings, and then Accounts, you see that you can add a new account, and it has built-in quick ways to add Microsoft Exchange accounts, Google accounts, also known as Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, or you can choose another mail account, and here's where you can add an account from just about anything. Your school, your company, your ISP, any standard email account will work with the Mail app. And you can also have more than one account here. So you can still use your iCloud account for some things, even if your main account is with your school or company. In addition, you don't even have to use the Apple Mail app. You can get different mail clients both on the Mac and in iOS and iPadOS. For instance, the Spark Mail app is a really popular one. One you can download online is Thunderbird. Thunderbird's been around for a long time, and it's a pretty comprehensive email app. And you can also, of course, just use web-based interfaces for doing email. A lot of people just use Google's Gmail website for checking their Gmail and never use an email client at all. I note that some of these services offer more than just mail. For instance, in System Settings, if I go to Internet Accounts, I could see I've got some demo Google accounts here. If I go into them, I can see that Google offers not just mail, but contacts, calendars, and notes. And these will work with these apps on your Mac directly. Now, they may not have as many features. For instance, in Notes, you're not going to get a lot of the new iCloud stuff. But you can still use Notes and store basic text notes that are actually put in Google's ecosystem, not Apple's. And a lot of other email services also offer these. Now, you also don't have to stick with the Safari browser on your Apple products. Safari is great because it syncs up things like bookmarks between all your devices, but so do other browsers as well. So for instance, you could get Google's Chrome browser and you can use your Google account to sync things up. Firefox is another popular browser, and that also has a service to sync your bookmarks between different devices. A newer browser you can get for your Mac that a lot of people also like is Microsoft Edge. So that would of course work with the Microsoft ecosystem. Now, one of the things that's built into macOS, iOS, and iPadOS is the iCloud keychain, allowing you to store your passwords, create unique, strong passwords for different websites. But you could certainly use another password manager. A lot of those have been around a lot longer than Apple's own password manager. For instance, 1Password has been around on the Mac for a long time. And the great thing about it and other password managers is they work cross-platform. So if you do happen to have a non-Apple device, it's just as easy to install this app on all your devices and sync your passwords between them. Another popular one will be Bitwarden too, and you can get apps for 1Password and Bitwarden that work across all your devices. Let's talk about cloud services, particularly storing your files in a cloud service like iCloud Drive. You don't have to use iCloud Drive just because you're using a Mac, iPhone, or iPad. You can use lots of third-party apps. For instance, Dropbox has been around for a long time, and you could certainly use Dropbox not just on the web, but also by installing apps on your devices, and then you automatically have access to those files in folders just like you would iCloud Drive. In fact, the Files app on the iPhone and the iPad work with Dropbox and other cloud services, so you can see those services listed there just as easily as you see iCloud Drive. Another popular one, of course, is Google Drive. And that works really well if you're already using the Google ecosystem. And that's not all. You can use alternative apps for just about anything on your Mac. For instance, if you don't like the podcast app on your Mac or your iPhone or iPad, you can find other podcast apps on all of those devices, usually in the Mac App Store, and you can subscribe to your podcast through those. The same is true with music apps. There are plenty of media handling apps and music players, and if you use streaming music, you can certainly get apps like Spotify and use that service instead. There's also, of course, YouTube Music and Amazon Music. So there are a ton of different ways to stream music. You don't have to stick with Apple's service. And you don't necessarily need to stick with Siri as your digital assistant either. Though Siri works great across all the Apple platforms, on the iPhone and iPad in particular, you can get apps for Google Assistant and for Amazon Alexa and access those as well. So that's really handy if you've got devices around your house for those or devices that respond to those systems. You can use those apps on your iPhone to control them or to do things like add reminders and events and perform other tasks in those different ecosystems. So while I personally prefer using the Apple apps for just about everything we talked about, it is great to know that you have alternatives in just about every way. So if you have a lot of devices and only some of them are Apple devices, then using some of these other ecosystems may make sense. Or you may just have historically used things like Google Drive, Microsoft Office, and so on and just want to stick with those. Or maybe your coworkers use those and you really want to stick with those for compatibility. I hope you found this useful, particularly if you're looking to switch to the Mac and you had questions about all of this. Thanks for watching.
All right. A lot of stuff going on in there. Comments, questions? People use that stuff, right? Everybody uses some kind of third-party thing, I would imagine.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. No comments, no questions about any of those? Okay. We got more videos. Ellen, how to create and send FaceTime video messages.
iOS and iPadOS 17 now have a handy feature to leave a recorded message if your FaceTime call isn't picked up. This video message can be spiced up with effects and the recipient will see your missed call as well as your FaceTime message to know the context of your call. If we haven't met, I'm Ellen from ellenstipsforios.com and I help seniors master their iPhones and iPads. If you find the video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. There's no cost for doing so. Let's get started. When is FaceTime video message available? Well, it's available if the call couldn't be completed because of connectivity issues, airplane mode, or the device is turned off. The recipient didn't pick up your call even though it rang on their end. The recipient declined your call. And another thing to note is that FaceTime video message is not available on the Mac. If I want to record and send a FaceTime video to a friend who doesn't answer my call, what I'll do is I'll open up FaceTime, and when I do, I can either start a new FaceTime call, which would give me access to the contacts that I have. But since I already have a call here available to another device, that's what I'm going to use. And I'm going to go ahead and tap on this. And when I do, the call will be made. I'm going to go ahead and decline the call on my other device. And so now you see what happens when somebody declines a call or they're unavailable. You can either call again, try again, or you can record video. I'm going to go ahead and say record video. If you don't want to do anything, you could tap on close. I'm going to go ahead and record video, and a countdown timer is going to begin. I'm going to pause that for right now. And when I pause that, if I hit the record button immediately, it will begin the recording. You'll notice that I have access to the front-facing camera and the back-facing camera. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on record now, and you'll see that the recording begins at the top of the screen, and I can leave a message, whatever I want, let's do lunch next week if you have time, whatever. But I can also use reactions, which are pretty cool. So if I put a thumbs up on the screen, you should see little bubbles begin to appear. If I put 2 thumbs up on the screen, now you see fireworks in the background. If I show the peace sign, once it picks it up, let's try it again. if I put the peace sign on the screen, I should get balloons. And so there are a few different reactions that you can use with hand gestures that are a pretty cool feature of this. But anyway, once you're finished your recording, you'll want to go ahead and you'll want to hit the stop button at the bottom of the screen. And now you'll get an option to retake that video if you want to, send that video, and if you want to save a copy of that video to your photo collection, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to say save, and then I'm going to tap on send. And now the person that I was having, that I wanted to call is going to receive that video message. After sending the video message, the recipient will see two notifications. One will show a missed FaceTime call, and the other notification has your FaceTime video message. Once the recipient taps the video message, I'm going to go ahead and do that. It should pop up in full screen, and they can either play the video clip, save the video to their Photos app, send you a message, call you back by tapping on the FaceTime button. The recipient can also go into FaceTime on their iPhone or iPad, and they will see the video call below the missed call entry. The message duration will be displayed, and one thing to note is that it seems as if the FaceTime video messaging can only be done for, I think, 3 minutes. That's how long the recording could be. And then they can tap to play the recording, save it, or call you back. As you can see, the video tile also appears in the recent section on my iPad, and I can go ahead and tap on that, and that same video will come up, and I can play it, save it, call the person back, whatever I need to do by tapping on the video tile. If you're wondering if the video message will be auto-deleted, like when sending an audio message via iMessage, which are deleted after 2 minutes, this isn't the case with FaceTime video messages. Even if you haven't saved it, the message appears in the FaceTime app and can be rewatched. Another thing to note is that the video record button is grayed out if a group call goes unattended. That may change at some point, but at this time, you cannot record a video to a group. If you're wondering if you can turn off FaceTime, the video message part of it, well, this feature isn't available. The best option you have is to not send a video recorded message. Just go ahead and tap close. If you're the receiver of a FaceTime video message, you can't opt out if someone sends you a video. The only way you could do that would be by turning off FaceTime. So you would want to come into the Settings app, and then you'd locate FaceTime and toggle off the switch for FaceTime. I'll conclude by saying that this feature could be misused. Someone could leave you an obscene video, but Apple's new communication safety and sensitive content warning may pick this up before you even watch the video. You can block these people so they will be unable to reach you. This feature is an excellent addition to FaceTime. Let me know if you plan to use it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.
Alrighty then. I've never done it. Anybody ever do that? No.
Yep, I've tried it too, and it works.
Okay. Questions, comments, anything else? Next video? We're gonna have a short meeting today, babe. Okay, next video. This is an Apple video. It's only 1 minute. So we'll go for it and see if this will play. There we go.
Conversation Boost for AirPods Pro helps you focus on the voice of the person directly in front of you in a crowded environment. Here's how to turn it on. In your accessibility settings, Scroll down and tap Audio and Visual. Tap Headphone Accommodations, then turn it on. Now, let's turn on Conversation Boost. While your AirPods Pro are connected to your iPhone or iPad, open Control Center. With the hearing control added to Control Center, tap it to show the menu. Tap Headphone Accommodations, then tap Transparency Mode, if it's not on already. Now, scroll down and tap Conversation Boost to turn it on. Concentrate on your conversation. To find out more about the accessibility features on your Apple devices, subscribe to the Apple Support YouTube channel, or
Okay, I don't have that. I think that takes a newer iOS on the house on my phone, but I use something called the transparency mode, which is one step above that. You see, you have to have that on, and that works very well if you have the Pro AirPods, because they have microphones for noise canceling. And to tell you the truth, it works almost as good as the hearing aids I got. So this is, I haven't seen, this is a new feature that's added on to transparency mode to focus on conversation. Go forward to,
check out our accessibility.
no, go forward. There we go. Comments, questions? People use transparency mode. I had to I trained or set up a Siri command so I can just say, hey Siri, turn transparency on. Hey Siri, turn transparency off, because you have to go through several levels down in there and you can't remember where it is.
Try creating a scene or making separate requests.
Okay, Siri was listening to me on the HomePod.
Yeah, it turned off mine. I mean, listening
Did
to
it,
my phone
did
was
it to you
listening
too? Questions, comments? People ever use that feature?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not sure when so would you be, say you were at a party, I guess, and you have your ear,
AirPods.
yes, on, and then you just were having a conversation with someone in a party type environment where there was a lot of noise, you would use that in that particular setting?
Yes. It has to be the Pros, AirPod Pros, that have the microphones and noise canceling.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, that's what it does.
Okay, I've never heard of that. That's interesting.
The transparency mode has been there for a while, and that's what I use. And you got to have a new phone that'll run iOS 17 to do, I believe, to do the conversation boost feature. But transparency mode is basically turns on the microphones and uses them basically as hearing aids so you can hear people.
Has anybody used this feature and able to report how well it boosts a conversation?
I can tell you transparency mode works.
Mm-hmm. Well, just wondering how well. I was in a restaurant recently trying to talk to people right across from me, and there was so much noise and din. It was really hard to understand them.
Right. Yeah. Something to try if you have AirPod Pros and an iOS 17, you should try it. If you use hearing aids or you have a hard time hearing people, like I said, when it's noisy. There's a video about it. They did it when they had it at the keynote about walking along and somebody starts talking to you and you're listening to music or something. It stops the music and concentrates on what they're saying and then turns itself on and off automatically.
Are you saying that this will work in lieu of the hearing aid application?
Yes, you have to be wearing AirPod Pros and not hearing aids. And
yeah. So with hearing aids, that's not going to work.
No, it's not a
You have
hearing
to use the hearing aid app.
Well, no, not the hearing aid app. It showed the features. You don't have to own hearing aids, but you have to own
I'm talking
AirPod
about
Pros.
people who wear hearing aids.
It's not,
This is of no use to them.
no,
Yeah. Okay.
but I would say it may work better than hearing aids if for listening to people talking. It doesn't just amplify it, it focuses in on the conversation as opposed to the background noise. I haven't tried it, so I can't, I can't tell you how well it works. Okay. I can tell you AirPod Pros are a lot cheaper than hearing aids.
Yeah.
They're $250. Sometimes they're on sale for $200. Okay. Next, go forward. Okay, so this is a feature that was in Sonoma and that was baffling to me when it first came out. If you maybe you've never noticed, okay, when you first Sonoma, if you click on the desktop, it's weird. It's like it slides into the background. Your other things slide into the background. And then you click again and they come back. And if you don't like that feature, this is how you turn it off. That explains what this feature does.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let's look at the Reveal Desktop feature in macOS Sonoma and how to turn it off. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now, after upgrading to macOS Sonoma, you may have noticed that something happens on your Mac that's different than before. Say you're working on your Mac and you've got several windows open here, and you can see the desktop behind it. And let's say you happen to click on the desktop. If you do that, you'll get something that looks like this. Notice how the windows retreat to the edges of the screen. And you just get the desktop wallpaper and you could see any desktop icons that are there. Plus you get this gray box that surrounds the screen like this. This is the Reveal Desktop feature, and it's actually not new to macOS Sonoma. I'm going to click on the desktop again, anywhere where there's not some sort of file or other icon, and it will go away. I'll be back to my normal looking desktop with all the windows I had before. Now, before macOS Sonoma, this feature was there, and you accessed it usually using the F11 key. Depending on your keyboard settings, you may need to hold the FN key and then press F11, and it does exactly this. Do it again, and it goes away. This feature can be found in System Settings, and then if you go to Keyboard, and then you go to Keyboard Shortcuts, look at Mission Control, and you'll see here Show Desktop. So this is where you may have it switched off if F11 isn't working for you, or maybe you've changed it from F11. In addition to that, if you go to Function Keys here, then you've got this switch. If the switch is off, then you need to use the FN or Globe key plus F11 to do this. Or if it's on, the F11 key will just work by itself. You don't need to hold down another key. Now, all this was here previous to macOS Sonoma. What's new is that if you now click on the desktop wallpaper, it does the same thing. Now, this can be a little annoying for a few reasons. First of all, you may accidentally click on the desktop wallpaper and then suddenly everything goes away. Or you may actually click on the desktop wallpaper specifically to bring the Finder to the front. Like if I'm here using System Settings and say I want to start searching for a file, I can switch to the Finder using, say, the Finder icon here in the dock or the App Switcher. But you can also click on the desktop and that brings the Finder to the front. But it's also made all of the windows go away, which may not be what you want. What's worse is if you actually have no windows anywhere, and if you click on the desktop background, you can see it really doesn't do anything except bring up this gray box here. I already had full access to the desktop, so clicking on it reveals the desktop, which was already very accessible. So it can be confusing as to why you're suddenly getting this box around your screen. Now, to turn this off, all you need to do is go into System Settings and then go to Desktop and Dock. And then scroll down to the Desktop and Stage Manager section. There you'll see the new macOS Sonoma option of Click Wallpaper to Reveal Desktop. By default, it's set to Always, but you could change it back to only in Stage Manager. Now Stage Manager, fairly new to macOS, always had this feature. So it's not confusing to somebody that had been using Stage Manager. But if you weren't using Stage Manager, now it does it always by default, which is the confusing thing. So switch to only in Stage Manager and now you're back to how it was before. I can click on the desktop as much as I want. These windows are not going to go away. So this is exactly how macOS Ventura and all the macOS versions before worked. You still can use the F11 key or whatever you've got set there in keyboard shortcuts to activate it just as before. But now it just won't happen when you click on the desktop. Now if you want to embrace this new feature instead, here's how to use it. See how I've got this calculator window here and it's over these icons so I can't easily access them. So normally I may need to move the calculator window away, or I may need to hide the calculator app or even minimize the calculator window to get access to those icons. But now I can simply click on the desktop background, everything moves away, and now I can access one of these. I can double click it and it will open up that file. The same thing of course is possible and was possible before using F11, and I could do that and get access to them temporarily like that. I could even drag and drop using this feature. So instead of moving the calculator window out of the way, if I wanted to drag one of these files into one of these folders here, I could use F11 or say click on the desktop background. It moves everything out of the way. I start dragging, and while I'm still dragging, I use F11 again to dismiss it, and now I can drag this into a folder. So you can decide whether or not you want to embrace this feature and use clicking on the desktop background as a way to get access to the files on the desktop, or you could decide to turn it off there in System Settings and just use F11 if you ever need it. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.
Okay. Okay. So comments, questions. That was very confusing to me when Sonoma first came out. I had to immediately change it. I was like bugged a lot of people.
I don't like that feature. I turned it off.
Right, I don't either. Somebody, I mean, they didn't, when you first install Sonoma, there's a little pop-up that says this something to the effect to tell you what's going on and how to go to system settings and turn it off. I turn it off on everything. I don't like it. 20 years of muscle memory. It's like, anybody else? I'm sure everybody got it when they got Sonoma. How many people left it on, or how many people figured out how to turn it off, or you don't care, or what?
I turned it off.
Yeah.
John?
I also turned it off.
Is this like using stacks?
No, it has nothing to do with stacks.
Okay.
It's called Reveal Desktop is the name of the feature. Doesn't have anything to do with organizing your desktop by stacks. Different thing. Gary has a video on that too. Okay. Somebody has something in the chat. Is that pertaining to us? Okay. Next. Forward, please. There's a very short one from, what's this guy's, David Cox. Go ahead and play this. Play.
Have you ever worried about what would happen if your iPhone were to fall into the wrong hands? In this 2-minute guide, I'm going to show you 2 vital settings that work together to protect your data even if your iPhone were to be stolen. First, let's talk about a common thief's tactic, disabling your ability to track your iPhone. To counter this, open Settings, navigate to Face ID and Passcode, and scroll down to the category called Allow Access When Locked. Here in this list, I encourage you to disable Control Center. This action is crucial because it prevents a thief from being able to quickly enable airplane mode, which will disable your ability to track your phone. Now for the second crucial setting. Apple just introduced a new feature in iOS 17.3 called Stolen Device Protection. It's in the same menu where we were a moment ago in Face ID and Passcode, and surprisingly, it's turned off by default. but I strongly recommend that you turn it on. This feature adds an extra layer of security by requiring Face ID verification to access sensitive data or change major settings when you're in an unfamiliar location. For example, a thief would not be able to access things like your passwords, save payment methods, they wouldn't be able to take out a new Apple credit card, and they, of course, won't be able to turn off Lost Mode. Basically, it's a really smart way to keep your iPhone's contents secure, even if it's out of your hands. Don't forget to hit the like button, and thanks for tuning in. This is David A. Cox with Tech Talk America. Class dismissed.
He misspelled thief.
Did he?
Yeah. Remember I before E except after C, or as in neighbor or way.
I never heard the first thing about turning off Control Center and lock screen. Nobody ever heard him mention that, but it makes sense.
He went through the navigation so fast. I was trying to write it down. I didn't get it all. But you went from settings to Face ID and password. And then what was it before disable Control Center?
I can't look at it on my, I don't have that feature on my phone.
That's it. It's in Face ID and passcode.
Turn on stolen device protection, he said.
That was the second part, right? Yeah.
It's in the same scroll. It's further up on the top of the same scrolling window.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can watch the thing again anyway. Thank you.
There is, I mentioned the link to the videos. If you just want to watch one particular video on the BBS, there's a PDF with clickable links, so you don't have to scroll through the whole video. You can go directly to his video. Okay. Next, 7 ways to switch apps on an iPhone. And, okay.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let me show you different ways that you can switch apps on your iPhone. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now, when you're using your iPhone, you're using just the app that you see on the screen. So, of course, you often need to switch apps. There's several different ways to do this. First, let's look at the simplest and most versatile, and that's to simply return to the home screen and choose a new app there. So here I am in the Calculator app. Now, getting to the home screen depends on which type of iPhone you've got. If you have an iPhone with a home button, you just press the home button. If you don't, if you've got one with Face ID, then you're going to see this bar at the bottom of the screen. What you need to do is tap and drag up, and you'll end up back at the home screen. And from there, you can choose a different app. Now, if that's the only way you know how to do it, that's perfectly fine. It works. But there are ways to shave off a few seconds by using more sophisticated techniques. One is the app switcher. So if you do the same thing and tap and drag from the bottom, but instead of quickly going up as far as you want, you kind of stop in the middle there. And notice you've got apps here to the left. Release here, and now you're using the app switcher. The app switcher shows you your current app to the right and then other apps, and you can swipe to drag between them. You can actually switch to any app you want as long as you can see it. So if I wanted to switch to the Messages app here, I can now just tap on Messages and it brings that up. This has the advantage of not taking you all the way back to the home screen. You can go right from one app to another. It also has a big advantage in that it shows you the content, not just the apps themselves. So for instance, I could look here and see the content in Safari. This is very useful in situations where you don't remember which app you're using. You just remember the content. For instance, you may be reading an article. Was that in the news app? Was it in some social media app? Maybe it was in Safari. You can now see the content and not really worry so much about the app itself, and then go specifically to the content, not the app. Now, you can also do this if you've got an iPhone with a home button. The trick is to double press the home button, and then it brings up the app switcher. Now, a third way to go between apps only works if you do have Face ID, no home button. Instead of swiping up from the bottom, you're going to go right. So if I go to the right there, it goes to the previous app. And you can keep swiping like that. This is a really handy way to quickly get to the previous app. It doesn't work as well as the app switcher for getting to an app several back, as you have to keep swiping. And most articles and videos you would find will stop there and show just those 2 or 3 different ways to switch apps. But there are more ways to do it. 2 of them use the accessibility functions on your iPhone. So we're going to go to settings here, and under accessibility, we're going to look for touch. And in here, we're going to turn on assistive touch. Let's look at the options here. You have got a single tap, double tap, and long press. And you could set these to do various things. So we could set the single tap to, for instance, go home. This will take us to the home screen. But notice you can also choose the app switcher here. So with assistive touch turned on and set for a single tap going to the app switcher, now you'll see this circle that you can move around on the screen and place around any edge. Now, we've set it to 1 tap. If I tap it like that, you can see it brings up the app switcher. So you could do single tap as the app switcher and double tap, for instance, as the home screen. This is particularly useful for those that don't do well with the tap and swiping gestures on the iPhone. I know there are plenty of people that use them expertly, but also there are plenty of people that have trouble with them. And it's sometimes easier to have that assistive touch button on the screen and just be able to do a simple tap to get to one of these. You could also set these up to go to what's called the menu. So you choose Open Menu here. And then the menu itself will bring up 6 buttons. And you can customize those. So this one here is set to the home screen, for instance. I can change this one here to go to the app switcher. And then when I tap on this, instead brings up those buttons, and I can now access the app switcher from one of those buttons, but maybe home from another. Also note another option here is to, instead of going to any of those, is to choose Spotlight. If you select that, then you can get to Spotlight, which you can get to it always from the home screen by swiping down, and then it will show you suggestions, which usually include your most recently used apps. So it works really great as an app switcher. But the problem is it doesn't work inside of an app. You can't get to Spotlight with a swipe down in the middle like you can on the home screen. But with assistive touch now, I've got this button here and I can tap on that, and now it brings up Spotlight even from within another app. Now, instead of assistive touch, another accessibility feature that will help you switch apps is back tap. So this is at the bottom of the touch section of accessibility. You could set back tap, the double tap or the triple tap, to go to home. You could have it go to the app switcher, or you could have it go to Spotlight. So you can use any one of those 3 options with either a double tap or triple tap on the back of your iPhone to quickly switch between apps using one of those methods. Now, of course, another option for switching apps is simply to use Siri. If you're already using Siri for other things, then you can use it to jump from one app to another. If you go into Settings and you go to Siri and search, here's where you would customize whether it's listening for keywords there or use some other way to activate Siri. And then you could use Siri to jump from one app to another. So here I am in the Notes app. If I then activate Siri, I can go to another app. Launch Calculator. Now there's one more method I want to show you, but this doesn't work to go to just any app. It will help you in some situations to go back to the previous app. Now sometimes when you're in an app, it switches you to another app automatically, say to view a piece of content. Now let's say, as an example, you're in Safari and you're viewing some content, but you could also be viewing content in a social media app or in an email message, anywhere. And there's a link that goes to another app, in this case the App Store app. So when I tap here, it goes to the App Store. Now, if maybe you weren't paying close attention, you might not have noticed that you switched apps. You're no longer in Safari. You're in the App Store app. Well, there's an indicator to actually show you that. If you look at the top left, you'll see this little button that takes you back to the previous app. First, you can use this as an indicator that yes, you did indeed switch apps. You're no longer in Safari because it actually says go back to Safari here at the top. But also you can tap on this and it'll actually take you back. It'll take you back to whatever the app was. So for instance, if you're in the Mail app here and you tap on a link in a mail message, notice how you can go back to Mail at the top left. A lot of times when we want to switch apps, we're just doing this. We're switching back to the app we were previously using before we tapped on a link. So looking for that at the upper left-hand corner is really handy. So every method I've shown you here has its advantages and disadvantages. For instance, going to the home screen allows you to go to apps that you haven't even used recently, and just as easily as going to the previous app. Going to the app switcher allows you to go back several apps and view the content of each app. So you can recognize where you want to go by content, not necessarily by the app name. Swiping quickly along the bottom is great for going to just the previous app or maybe 2 or 3 back. Using the accessibility functions are great if you're not really good at these swiping gestures. And with Siri, you don't even need to tap the screen at all. And then looking for the back button at the upper left-hand corner allows you to easily get back to the previous app. So I hope you find one or more of these methods useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me.
Okay, I'm noticing that the video was really jerky.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I don't know. We had that problem last week too. I don't know what the deal is. So I think that is the end of the video. It's 4 o'clock. So what we're going to do different is we're going to say bye-bye to the YouTube people and stop the recording. So these people on YouTube, if you want to watch the Q&A, you need to log in, come to the Zoom meeting in person, okay? So hopefully we'll see you come to a Zoom meeting. And I will stop the recording, wherever that is. Where's the stop recording? I can't find it. There it is. Okay, bye-bye.